We are back to sign more books because we got some books in, and I'm trying to keep up. I remember when I didn't used to work on weekends.
Is that like an boy thing? I'm dead serious right now. I'm literally like that. Like, if I'm about to do the dishes, if I'm not supposed to go do the dishes, I'm like, okay, I'm about to do the dishes. I'm not do the dishes. But, like, I know people, and they're all good guys. I think, like, I'm totally offended if I, like, remind them to do something. If I don't remind them, then they'll do it. If I remind them, they'll get
Here is the book that we're signing, Uncultured. Hi! And this week we are working on, editing chapter 4 of Culting of America, and that is about self-sacrifice. And then writing, oops, I need to get some paper towels. Writing chapter 11. It's called Just Groups. And I wrote down most of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour as a cult indoctrination ceremony thing. And hello, Netherlands. That's cool. You never know who's going to show up. Good afternoon. I'm doing great. I don't know. I think I've sold approximately 300 books in the last week. So as they show up, I get to sign them. And I think I'm actually going to schedule a post office pickup. I'll have to figure out how to do that because I've never done that before. I feel like most of this week has just been people being really, really scared about what's going to happen under the next administration. And to be fair, New Year's Eve rang in with lightning hitting the White House, the Capitol building, One World Trade Center, and the Empire State Building. Welcome to the Trump administration. And I wrote a musical concept down on paper. I'm really obsessed with it, but I have to get back to my writing the other book. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. So I'm editing self-sacrifice chapter and then writing the chapter on groups, just groups. And we're going to touch on superfan behavior. It's intended to be like a little bonus chapter. Yikes. I tried to make it to 13 to be cutesy, but my editor said I couldn't do that. So here we are. But yeah, I am then just going to give people like the reminder that this whole book was trying to teach you that there's not an easy answer to what makes anything a cult. Hey, just put that down. I don't know why I just got super loud all of a sudden. I'm talking to the child. Television just started screaming. What was that one where the plants were killing everyone? Yeah, so there's a lot of apocalypse right now. And I feel like I've been in the weird position of like defending the military, being like, no, I don't think the American citizens are going to start turning their guns on American citizens. I don't even know why we're talking about this yet. Like, because the thing is, when everyone's like, oh, the apocalypse, like the robots are coming. I actually talk about this in chapter 10. It's like, then it stops you from preparing for what's actually happening. Like, yeah, we should be noting that there are some parallels between Trump and Mustache Man because, of course, all cult leaders are the same. But also, we need to be paying attention to our public services. And I think we're much more likely to look something like dictatorship era Brazil. Large slums, stratification between the rich and the poor, social services almost completely broken down. Even so, they had free healthcare. Oh man, I forgot about my stamp. Where are my stickers? Oh, I can't get to them. Moving from Alberta, Canada. Oh, morning. Hi. In the links of like any of my videos, there is. I wonder if I can put it in the chat. It's expensive to ship it to Canada, though. Okay, I'm trying to. It was to go through a Christmas season and have people be like, I bought your book for Christmas, or I got it, or I asked for it. That was cool. Okay. I'm grabbing the link for the signed copy. Okay. If you're on TikTok, you can buy it attached to the video. There it is. Yep, it's going to be glitchy. I don't own the TV right now. If it's too glitchy, let me know and then I'll leave. Unpin the book. Pin it again. Show it off. Okay. Yeah, so I think that the biggest thing I've been noticing, like people are afraid of, like, we're going to have a civil war. Like the military doesn't split out like that anymore. People are believing the bloviating of, I'm going to replace all the generals with loyalists. Like, it's hard to replace generals and they need congressional confirmation. And like, the military, like, we have a high-tech volunteer military. And it is not just that easy to just replace people. And it's not like, you know, it used to be decimation in the Roman days, right? As a punishment, a tenth of them are taken out. Like, it's not like that anymore. It doesn't mean you're just doing what you're doing with less people. It's like your tank driver is gone. Your person that understands the intelligence systems that take months to master is gone. And good luck putting people who are not qualified to be generals in general positions because they're not going to know how to drive the military either. So, and then another thing, and so then people are like, okay, well, maybe he wants to ruin the military, but like the intelligence community and the military who are assessing our position in the world every single day, 24 hours a day, they're not going to let him do that. I mean, I'll ship to wherever if you pay for the shipping. So that all goes through in the link when you do it, and you get to choose that. We're in their warehouse. They're keeping these books. Yeah, and also it's just like it's hard to explain, or I'm still trying to find the right words to explain like the reality of a volunteer military. You know, we haven't done do as I say. I was just following orders. If we haven't done that version of the military since the end of World War II. And all modern militaries have been structuring their militaries so that we could not have a repeat of Mustache Man. Um, so, you know, plus our military is all over the world. Exactly, right? We're integrated at like intense levels with all these other countries. And Colt 45, just like everyone else, he's just spouting off things he doesn't know about. He doesn't understand how the military works, even after being president. I actually think it's a little bit scarier is Vance being president because he does have a functional understanding of how the military works, being a veteran. But, you know, it's going to be interesting times. I bet we're going to be seeing him on television every day. He'll find something, he'll do something. Um, I'm interested to see how him and Musk are going to go. This is something that we see a lot with cult leaders is like when they get into power, they put people, they do one of two things. They either surround themselves with like effective bureaucrats who then start bureaucrating and the process of what is called routinization, putting rules in place, writing things down, right? Keeping records. Um, Records were what got the Yahtzees, by the way. The paperwork. It's much harder to pull off really bad things when there's a big paper trail. And this is part of why bureaucracy helps check charismatic leadership. Um, and the United States, though which is a cult, has been very routinized. Almost messed that one up. Sorry, concentrate for a minute. Yeah, there's people stationed all over the world. There's another I keep hearing like, oh, well, what if he declares martial law? Like, the United States has 340 million people over an incredibly vast swath of territory. You're not enforcing martial law with 2 million people over 340 million over that much territory. Like, how would you enforce it? It would be incredibly difficult to drive the American military by force. I think it'd be incredibly difficult to drive America by force. Like, we're not all just going to give up our rights and go back inside. I hope. His grandmother was a partner. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are a big, bad cult that somehow just kind of like get a pass like the Mormons because there's a lot of them. And oh my gosh, have cult scholars worked really hard to get people to stop with the stereotype that cults have to be small. Obviously, we have a 75 million person one going on in our country right now. And whole countries can be cults, totalitarian nations. Hopefully, that is not where we end up. I think it takes more than Donald Trump to break America. I think he's going to try. I think every test and balance, every check and balance is going to be tested. Those guys want to own the world. Oh yeah, in Norway, Jehovah's Witnesses is banned, right? I'm pretty sure. I love European countries. I've not been up to those ones because I'm very sensitive to cold. I need to go in the summer. Thanks for having your partners read the book. I appreciate that. I always say I wrote it in part to show Mr. Knitting Cult Lady that like his career was just fundamentally different from mine. And there was nothing that I could have done to make it like his. He gets it now. I think the national anthem and the pledging allegiance to the flag is all. And the national anthem at sports games started much more recently than people realize. And anyway, all of that stuff was just. But yeah, my weird, crazy shock fusion when on my second day of high school, my first day being there for the beginning of the day, like all the students stood up and put their hands over their hearts and started chanting. And I was like, I've only seen this in the context of where I come from and like the USSR. And in Texas, we do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and then to the Texas flag, which, by the way, is not allowed to be flown at the same height as the U.S. flag anymore. It was for a brief period, and it's not, but they still do it. Yeah, we need a lot of self-care right now. We need self-care. We need, so I went and sat in my massage chair while I printed out labels. That was my health today, self-care today. Yeah, for me, it's making stuff, all the art that I do. Can't do meditating, but I do have a sauna. So I like to do like a workout and then a sauna. I'm more of a sauna person than a bath person. But what's crazy about self-care is like that we don't talk about is like it takes time. Like I want to, like I for myself, and it still takes like a whole hour of my day. And I'm like, other people don't have this time. Like, it's all like, oh, self-care instead of just like, no, maybe we should be looking at our systems that are breaking people and figuring that out. Because, health's always about labor. This guy's getting a gold sticker. Oh, it's my little seal. Thank you. I did. Oh, chapter 5. You need whiskey for chapter 5. I did make this sweater. This is another one of my scarves that I brought back from Afghanistan. And then I turned it into what I call a scarf again, where I take a scarf and turn it into a cardigan with crocheted or knitted sleeves. I mean, as a former person in the intelligence, someone's asking if we can talk about the cultiness of the intelligence community, but I don't know how much I can say about the intelligence community. One thing I keep reminding people is like anyone that has access to real information right now can't talk to you about it. And anyone that's talking to you about it doesn't have access, like me. All I have is my past experience to try to like kind of make guesses on. But there we have it. But I do know that like my personal friends and colleagues are now in the senior leadership of the military. And like those people aren't going to just roll over for a dictator. the Joint Chiefs of Staff don't want to support a dictator. They have so much more power under a democratically elected president. I think that, yeah, but I think the courts are a mess. And I mean, he jacked at the courts so bad the last time that we already lost rights, and now he's going to have 4 more years to do these things. I don't think he's going to be able to amend the Constitution, and I don't think he's going to be able to destroy the Constitution with the entire 2 million members of the military pledged to defend it. But I think he's going to try a bunch of stupid stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's so exhausting. I said in a video the other day, I'm like, in January 20th, 2029, there's going to be a new president at noon that day. So we're like, oh my God, it's so far away. And it is so far away. Didn't he promise us that if he didn't win, he was going to go away and we were never going to hear from him again? But, cult leaders don't do that. No, this concept that you can just fire generals, like, you all got this from the movies. Like, this is not a real thing. You certainly can't fire and replace them quickly. Generals have to be confirmed by Congress, and Congress is not working well at anything right now. General promotions have been holed up for over a year already. I think this is all a mix of him bloviating and him distracting so that he can go in and do the things he actually wants to do. And a lot of it is just him being an idiot because he's an idiot. Yeah, again, people keep quoting him saying, like, you won't have to vote again. Like, there are a lot of checks and balances in place in America that the president can't run rogue like this. So, like, I get it. He's saying the quiet stuff out loud right now, but, like, that doesn't suddenly give the president the ability to destroy the election and the Constitution. Like, again, he's going to try. I don't think he's going to succeed. And also, there are 300, again, like, America can't be led by a dictator. There's 340 million of us. Like, just like how I say, like, the army won't work by force. Like, they could try. I think we'd have fun with it. And, if I were hypothetically writing a novel about the resistance, then I would hypothetically look to the train lines. What if you figured out on your own that a member of your family is in the intelligence community, but they never told you anything, you never signed anything? I mean, yeah, I think you have secret information. You should not talk about it. But if they never told you anything and you never signed anything, then there's no problem. And mostly nobody's telling anybody secret stuff because the penalties are extremely strict. And that's okay. So that's the last thing that I think people are forgetting. It's like stuff about, like, not leaving office or trying to destroy the Constitution. Like, this is treason. This is a coup. And at this point, like, he's just not in charge anymore. And then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is, and then it goes from there on down. And, like, yeah, these people voted for him. Still, smaller percentage of the military than people think. It's at least 45% Democrat. But voting for someone and being willing to do treason and life in jail or for someone are very different things. And I don't think, like, again, the Joint Chiefs of Staff don't want to work for a dictator. The soldiers don't want to work for a dictator. Everyone tries to get me to stop talking about the things that I've been through. That's just being a woman on the internet and being self-confident. But they can't, so that's fine for me. And they also think they can hurt me with their words, as though I haven't been having cult members say mean things about me for 20 years. But these days, every time I see the comments, the shutdown comments, it's just exciting because then I'm going to make a snappy comeback and make a bunch of money off them. Yeah, he already tried it as practice, and the military did not cooperate with him. In fact, people are forgetting that military leaders are some of the only ones who stood up to him during his last presidency. No, the military is probably about 45, 55 Democrat, Republican. That doesn't mean they all voted. And I also know plenty of veterans and military who consider themselves Republican that voted for Democrats this year because they wouldn't vote for a traitor. And again, I also remind you the military has had months to train for this. And we train these scenarios a lot. Everyone from the newest private to the most senior military member knows that they are not supposed to or allowed to follow illegal or immoral orders. Yeah, I'm not reacting to his Greenland, Panama. This is just the Gulf of Mexico. This is just old delusional man bloviating. Again, we're forgetting that he's not the president yet. He's just spouting a bunch of stuff. Then he's going to get in and not be able to do anything because our country is split in half. And you need 2/3 of the states to amend the Constitution. And good luck getting 2/3 of anything right now. I feel like Monday I'm finally going to learn how to schedule post office pickup because it has become too much. Checks and balances. Yeah. I mean, again, they're going to try, but I think hopefully we are good. Any fun knitting stuff? Yeah, I'm going to show you my fun knitting stuff. These are my newest creations. So, Love Bomb collar and matching earrings. This one's for sale on the TikTok. Then I made circular logic earrings, and I make them with bangles. And then I made the thought-stopping cliche headband. And these ones are really cool. Everybody loves these ones. I'm going to put some of them in my Etsy or TikTok shop soon. I haven't glued this yarn down, so it keeps coming off. Someone says they hope I'm making $1 million. Not yet, but I will. The baby, the TikTok baby videos crying at you. I mean, look, I'm going to be here. Suddenly I'm doing daily America fret briefs, which is great. I'm good at that. But I want to analyze the things he actually does. I think that's going to be a lot more important. He also told them he could lower grocery prices, and obviously he can't. So I literally think people are already losing steam for his presidency. It's going to be hilarious when his crowd is even smaller than last time. Especially because it's ice storming here. bam. Stop and crochet headbands. I made the first part of the knitting culty knitting patterns book, and that's up on my link in my bio. Yeah, that's up on my Patreon. From Memphis. When I first moved to the US, I was 14, and I had only ever heard of Memphis in the context of Memphis, Egypt, from the Bible. I remember the first time I connected somewhere, and it was like arriving in Memphis. And I asked somebody, I was like, "Excuse me, what state are we in?" And they looked at me and I go, "It was cray-cray." The book is also in libraries. It's in like over 500 libraries, so you can probably get it in libraries. Dressed to impress all day long. But me and the kid do it together sometime, and then we always win. The fashionistas we are. So, also in resistance, wear color. Keep saying this a lot. Don't give up in advance. That's the other problem of apocalypsia and apocalyptic thinking is people tell themselves like, there's nothing we could do. Bullshit. 1 million of us could march on the White House and just march straight in. In Brazil once, in a state called Manaus, which is like the Amazon, I'm pretty sure the Amazon state. The fans of a soccer game once, this was in the World Cup or leading up to the World Cup, were so angry that they stormed the field and pulled the referee's head off. Like, we talk about the pots, the frogs in the pots and the boiling water, but like, if we all jump out of the pot, then you have 340 million frogs jumping around your kitchen, and like, you're not getting anything done, even if you're a billionaire. So, you know, I think we all need to just ask ourselves what we can do for the resistance. See how far we get. If it does somehow turn into civil war, I feel like I could lead a great brigade of femmes who, you know, lure people to the woods and maybe not bring them back. But yeah, I don't think we're having like an existential war on the American soil quite yet. He does really remind me of Henry VIII, though, and like that was one of Henry VIII's things, was like he had to have a war, and so he went and lost the British the little part of France that they had stolen and held on to for forever, because men and their wars. Sometimes people with famous names buy my book, and I know it's probably not the said famous named actual person. I tell myself that it is. Thanks. Yeah, why Netherlands is so good at protesting? Like Iceland, all those places. I will be on to the gram. I am there already. I'm also on Y to the Tube right now, in fact. You can find me there. Oops, I better unpin my thing. Leave it unpinned for a little while. We could all not have our taxes taken out. I honestly, I think one of the craziest things that the US government has ever pulled off is convincing Americans that they get money back at tax time. It's just bonkers. And I have always been the exact other way. Make my withholdings as small as possible and write the government a check at the end of the year. And that way I get to invest the money all year, not them. I'm just going to get a little emboss here because my pen was dying. So satisfying. Yeah, I hate all of the Zuckerberg sites. I'm just not pictures and posh. I'm much more videos. But I also think that if like the reason
Quiet, buddy.
the reason that we have such a wealth of experts providing free information on TikTok is because it's incredibly easy to monetize here. Because TikTok is a marketplace, first and foremost. And if whoever tries to make whatever replacement it is doesn't understand that, then it's not going to work. Just like nobody's been able to change. Nobody's been able to replace Twitter yet. But yeah, my dog is exceptionally cray. And we even have that sign that's like, please don't ring our doorbell, but people do it anyway. Who was it?
Neighbors found your gloves.
The ones I lent Lorelai?
Probably.
Are they the knitted
Your
ones?
knitted ones? Yeah, they
Yep.
laid out with stuff. So.
So I think this will catch me up to only like 200 books behind. Oops, forgot about my stamp. I got this embosser for myself for Christmas, and I like it like as a cult scholar because I had to just obviously pick from these templates for what image you could put on there. And so I picked the crossed swords, but since it says from the Library of Knitting Coat Lady, like no one's going to see that and be like, these are swords, right? They're just knitting needles, obviously. So that's fun for me. Group behavior. Okay, only 2 more books. Then I'll be off for today. But yeah, I think right now I'm just trying to keep people calm. We need to get through the inauguration and see what the situation's going to be. And, plans. But I don't think going straight to apocalypse scenarios helps. I think we need to just all think of ways that we're willing to push back and what we're willing to do. With this cult that has been in the making for like 50 years. It's so interesting to study it too, because it's like the last thing they added was the leader. But they've been building this cult since the Reagan era. And cults are always out for political power. And here they are. so much for reading. Get your whiskey for chapter 5. Look how cool my little stamp is. And it says, what cult are you in? Knitting cult lady. I used to write that in every book, so now I'm stamping it. And it goes faster. And I just did like however many books that was. Almost 49. Thanks for hanging out with me. No, I don't have tips for how to learn military skills without enlisting. This is what people are missing out on, that like the average soldier is trained for a year to a year and a half, 6 months at minimum on their job. And the skills are kept like narrow and deep. That's why I say if you lose even 20% of your military, like it's not that you just have less people, like you're literally not combat effective. I do think Vance would take over in a way that's effective for the cult. I think he will do a lot of damage if he gets in, and I hope he doesn't. But the best way to get with you. So here is my link to get the signed book, and there are ways to get in touch with me on there, but I'm not necessarily doing anti-cult work right now, but I'm interested to hear. Un-American on Patreon is different. No, I don't wash my hair every day. I'm gonna wash my hair in like 5 days. One of my best things in the military was that I can go for like 9-10 days easily without washing my hair because it's so curly and coarse. All the poor girls with straight hair. Okay, the Un-American is, so as I was selling Uncultured in my life-changing book deal, yes, I did the audio. I also got contacted by the Army and asked to testify against my ex-husband of a decade prior for white supremacy. And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, what, like, how is this my life, right? Like, how has my life been already so big that I'm 33 years old, just sold this huge memoir deal, and also I was married to an extremist? And I was like, oh no, it's because I grew up in a cult that I was married to an extremist. And, you know, here I am a decade later, an expert on radicalization, and I can see the whole thing and how it happened. And I was kind of like, I realized I was going to have to write a whole nother book because I was like, I need to analyze like how close I came to being their Serena Joy, right? And using my considerable skills of influence and rhetoric for the very bad guys. And so I wrote a whole second memoir. It's not whole complete, right? It's like a 150-page manuscript. It needs to be like at least 200 to be a whole book. And I'm going to put a knitting and taking out the bad stitches and putting in new ones, like theme to tie it all together. But it didn't sell. So it's Un-American, and it's still like a memoir of my life, but it's this time, instead of looking at group behavior, I'm looking at power and privilege and whiteness and otherness and what it means to be an American. And I made it, so as soon as I turned the text of Uncultured in, finalized, I started working on Un-American, and then my publisher didn't want it, but they asked me if I could write a book called The Culting of America, which was a phrase I had said in the proposal. And I was like, sure. So then I started writing that. And then, long story short, I'm self-publishing it anyway, but no, you're not protected from spousal confidentiality by an ex with an ex-spouse. They only can't make you testify against your current spouse because that would mess with the sanctity of marriage. That is why. And it doesn't last after divorce, at least not a military court. And I definitely gave him the piece they needed to kick him out. So that was nice. But yeah, so anyway, on my Matreon, I have I called it a video book. I just read out 6 hours of me reading on American. So like if you've read Uncultured and you're interested in more, and then now I'm pushing out Culting of America. So I have to read all Culting of America, and then I'll put out on American. And then also I want to write this musical that I have conceptualized, Uncultured, the Cult Baby musical. So it's going to be fun to like make and produce. And I already have all these. I'm already drowning in Cult Baby offers of performing resumes. And I was like, oh, I'm going to write a musical. And people are like, do you write music or sing? I'm like, nope, but I know a lot of cult babies. And of course, I grew up in the performing cult. So there you have it. All right. Got done the books. Gonna go back to my family. Thanks so much for hanging out with me while I did the stuff. Yeah, I know I'm excited about the musical too. I just have to be in the Culting of America era right now. Bye.